You will never lose in any situation. Buddhist Teachings Introduction. In the fast-paced, ever-changing world we live in, where the pressure to succeed, stay relevant, and keep up with the constant barrage of challenges feels overwhelming, the teachings of Buddhism offer a timeless sanctuary. Imagine living in a state where no matter what happens, you never lose. Impossible? Not according to Buddhist wisdom. These teachings, originating more than 2,500 years ago, present a profound understanding of the human condition, suffering, and the pursuit of liberation, an understanding that holds a mirror up to modern life. In every situation, from the simplest struggles to the most complex challenges, Buddhism shows us how to cultivate an unshakable foundation, a way of living that isn't about avoiding difficulties, but transforming them into opportunities for growth, self-discovery, and peace. This mindset is the key to mastering life in a way that feels like winning, regardless of the outcome. So how can we navigate life with such resilience? How can we turn every situation into a lesson, a gain? By delving deep into Buddhist teachings, we learn that there is no situation too tough, no obstacle too high that we cannot overcome, or more importantly, that we cannot learn from. Throughout this exploration, we will uncover how concepts such as mindfulness, detachment, compassion, and forgiveness can turn any situation into a win. Let's begin by understanding the core principles that make this mindset possible. The mindset of never losing, understanding attachment. One of the key ideas in Buddhism is the concept of attachment. Most of our suffering stems from clinging, whether it's to physical possessions, relationships, or even ideas about how things should be. This attachment creates an illusion of permanence and control in a world that is inherently impermanent and ever-changing. In a practical sense, this means that every time we face a challenge, our instinct is to hold on tightly to our expectations or desires. We resist change, and that resistance often leads to suffering. The more we cling, the harder it becomes to adapt to new circumstances or learn from them. Story example: the farmer's fortune. To better understand this, consider the classic Buddhist story of a farmer and his son. One day, the farmer's horse ran away. His neighbors came over to offer their sympathy, saying, "Such bad luck." But the farmer calmly replied, "Maybe, maybe not." A few days later, the horse returned, bringing with it several wild horses. The neighbors then came to celebrate his good fortune, but again the farmer said, "Maybe, maybe not." Shortly after, the farmer's son tried to ride one of the wild horses, and in doing so, he fell and broke his leg. Again, the neighbors came, expressing their sorrow. Such terrible luck, but the farmer in his wisdom said only, "Maybe, maybe not." Soon after, a war broke out, and the army came to draft all the young men in the village. But because of his injury, the farmer's son was spared. Once again, the neighbors exclaimed, "What good fortune!" And yet, the farmer simply responded, "Maybe, maybe not." The lesson of this story is clear. Life is unpredictable, and our perception of events as good or bad is often short-sighted. By remaining detached from rigid expectations, the farmer embodied a sense of equanimity and peace. This is the core of the Buddhist approach to life, neither clinging to what we perceive as positive, nor rejecting what we perceive as negative. When we adopt this mindset, we free ourselves from suffering because we no longer place our happiness on the fleeting nature of external circumstances. Instead, we develop an inner resilience that allows us to face every situation with calm and clarity. Mindfulness, a tool for every situation. Mindfulness, or the practice of being fully present in the moment without judgment, is a cornerstone of Buddhist teachings. It is a practice that helps us become aware of our thoughts, feelings, and surroundings without becoming overwhelmed by them. In today's world, mindfulness has gained popularity as a tool for reducing stress and improving mental health. But in Buddhism, mindfulness is not just a stress relief technique, it's a way of life. It allows us to see situations as they truly are, rather than through the lens of fear, desire, or attachment. Practical example: dealing with stress in modern life. Consider a scenario where you're facing stress at work. Deadlines are piling up, your boss is demanding more than you can give, and you're feeling overwhelmed. A typical reaction might be to spiral into panic, stress, or frustration. But with mindfulness, you can take a step back and observe the situation. Instead of reacting impulsively, you allow yourself to acknowledge the stress without being consumed by it. You recognize that this stress is temporary, a passing state of mind. By practicing mindfulness in such moments, you can prevent stress from taking over your emotions, allowing yourself to make more thoughtful decisions and respond to challenges in a calmer, more collected manner. The simple act of being present, without judgment, transforms how we handle life's difficulties. Compassion, the key to winning in relationships. Compassion, another central Buddhist principle, is often misunderstood. Many people believe that compassion is only about being kind to others. But in Buddhism, compassion begins with understanding suffering, not only in others, but also in ourselves. When we cultivate compassion, we begin to see the world differently. Instead of viewing others through a lens of judgment or competition, we see them as fellow human beings who, like us, are trying to navigate their own challenges. This shift in perspective allows us to approach relationships with empathy and kindness, which in turn creates stronger, more meaningful connections. Story example: the monk and the angry man. There's a well-known Buddhist story about a monk who was verbally attacked by an angry man. Instead of responding with anger or frustration, the monk simply stood in silence, waiting for the man to finish his tirade. After the man had exhausted himself, the monk said, "If someone offers you a gift and you decline to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man, confused, replied, "To the one who offered it, of course." "Exactly," said the monk. "I do not accept your anger, so it remains yours." This story highlights the power of compassion and non-attachment in the face of conflict. The monk could have easily reacted with anger, but instead, he chose to remain centered and compassionate. By not accepting the man's anger, he disarmed the situation entirely. In our own lives, we are often faced with conflicts, whether at work, in our relationships, or within ourselves. Compassion allows us to step outside of our emotional reactions and approach situations with understanding, which in turn leads to more positive outcomes. By practicing compassion, we can transform even the most challenging relationships into opportunities for growth and connection. Forgiveness, a path to liberation. Forgiveness is another essential teaching in Buddhism, and it's a practice that can be incredibly liberating. When we hold on to anger, resentment, or the desire for revenge, we are essentially trapping ourselves in a cycle of suffering. As the Buddha once said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. Forgiveness, in the Buddhist sense, is about letting go, not for the benefit of others, but for our own peace of mind. It's about releasing the attachment to negative emotions that weigh us down. Practical example: letting go of past hurts. Consider a situation where someone has wronged you. Perhaps a friend betrayed your trust, or a colleague took credit for your work. It's natural to feel hurt, angry, or even vengeful. But holding on to those emotions only prolongs your suffering. By choosing to forgive, you free yourself from the emotional burden of carrying that pain. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting what happened or excusing the behavior. It simply means releasing the hold that the situation has over your mind and heart. In doing so, you allow yourself to move forward with a sense of peace and clarity. Conclusion: turning every situation into a win. At the heart of Buddhist teachings is the idea that we have the power to transform any situation, no matter how difficult, into an opportunity for growth and inner peace. By practicing mindfulness, detachment, compassion, and forgiveness, we can navigate life's challenges with resilience and grace. In doing so, we cultivate a mindset where we never truly lose, because every experience becomes a valuable lesson. As you continue on your journey through life, remember that the path to true peace and happiness isn't about avoiding difficulties. It's about learning how to face them with wisdom and an open heart. By embracing the teachings of Buddhism, you can turn every situation, no matter how challenging, into a stepping stone on the path to greater fulfillment.